Monday morning, April 8th, 2024, solar eclipse. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We currently are a mere 12 hours away from a total solar eclipse. There's actually only a 115-mile wide area which will be under the path of totality. If you're not in the path of totality, it's almost not worth it. The people who are most fascinated by this stuff tell us that if it's 99% eclipse, the sun is 10,000 times brighter than a total eclipse. So if you're in Cincinnati, you should really, and you're interested in seeing this, it's probably worth it to drive to a different city. Cincinnati is 99.4% partial eclipse. It's almost there. I guess 99.4 maybe means you're 5,000 times brighter than what would happen in a 100%. But if you are to go to cities like Indianapolis, Indiana, even Paducah, Kentucky, and there are many other places in Ohio, we do have Paducah, Kentucky is one of the cities which, according to some weather models, actually might have clear skies. We do have another model showing that there could be some high clouds. You know, and regarding the weather forecast, so there's really two areas in this country where you'll see clearer skies. The area with most confidence is really when you go up to Vermont, that area, and by Caribou, Maine, we have an area in Vermont as well. That area is under high pressure, so there's really very high confidence that skies will be clear, or 7% cloud cover is possible, but even that would just be some high clouds. To go to the other extreme, we have Texas, an area of low pressure. We'll be bringing clouds to that area. But Texas as well, you know, there could very well be plenty of sunshine as well. Climatologically speaking, Texas is most likely to have sunshine this time of the year. That's what all these climatological studies show. And in fact, if you look, it's either the Paducah, Kentucky or the Buffalo, New York National Weather Service that actually have all of the climatological data for years when there is El Nino versus years where there's no El Nino, what exactly happens. And it's the Paducah, Kentucky National Weather Service along with severe weather statistics. But here's one of the things which is of the more interesting things that I read regarding weather, and it's hard to find this actually, but the question really is, does the eclipse affect the weather? So those of us that remember back to 1994 will remember that the temperatures indeed dropped in the middle of the day during the eclipse, and that's what is going to be happening tomorrow. At the same time, if you look at the computer models, at least the ones being advertised on windy.com, you will not see any temperature drop. So I assume just the models are not accounting for this. And to not account for this is a major issue, because experts also tell us that along the edge of totality, it is known that places which have clear skies will go through a drop in temperatures, which many times induces thunderstorm development. Thunderstorms could start to develop just from that. And where do they develop? They will develop specifically on the edge, the very edge of the path of totality. That's where thunderstorms could develop. So without taking these things into consideration, at least the windy.com forecast models are not taking these things into consideration. So one has to wonder how accurate the forecast is in general. Nonetheless, severe storms are a possibility, even according to the models, by tomorrow afternoon for places like Dallas, Texas, within 1 or 2 hours of this solar eclipse. So we also have the regular places as well. Paducah, Kentucky also can get some thunderstorm development, and other areas as well. But as you head up north, like Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo, New York, those places, 100% totality. But there's also expected to be a lot of cloud cover in those areas. Some very interesting stuff that you'll read about. You could read about it anywhere, but I think the temperature drop makes sense. The thunderstorms That's something which is unique. It's harder to find that information, and we'll see what happens tomorrow regarding thunderstorm development, especially for those places. We actually have the severe weather threat actually is along the path of totality for many people, and we have this low pressure system, as we mentioned in Texas, which will be pushing northeastward. We'll just take you now to the next part of this episode, which the next part of this episode, almost all of it, really comes from stuff that I read from the National Weather Service website, a little bit from other news sources. The Washington Post reports at 12:23 p.m., April 8th, Monday afternoon for Dallas, Texas, the moon will start to cover the sun. This will eventually become a complete solar eclipse for Dallas, Texas, along with many other cities. An hour and 17 minutes later, the totality will arrive in Dallas, and for nearly 4 minutes, Dallas will go completely dark. Animals are expected to get confused, reports the Washington Post. There's a special zone called the Path of Totality, a band roughly 115 miles wide where the moon will completely eclipse the sun. Along the path are major cities, including San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo, and Rochester, New York. Montreal sits on the edge. Eagle Pass, Texas, on the border between the United States and Mexico, which has been a hot spot in the ongoing dispute over border policies, holding a multi-day music festival in anticipation of totality, which will begin at 1:27 p.m. local time on Monday. A bit further north and east, where totality will start 2 minutes later, is Uvalde, known to most Americans because of the deadly school shooting in 2022. Much of Texas appears to be in the throes of a cloud-making low-pressure system. This forecast map shows clouds extending across vast stretches of the eastern half of the country and not getting completely out of the way until the moon's shadow reaches the cold area of New England. The following comes from the National Weather Service. This is regarding the solar eclipse of April 8th. A total eclipse from many locations. Monday, April 8th, 2024, a total solar eclipse across North America. This eclipse will be seen across portions of Mexico, the central and eastern United States, and southeastern Canada. The path of totality will first enter the United States and Texas, then advance northeast across Mississippi and Ohio, and reach New York State during the mid-afternoon. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the Earth and the Sun at just the right time and orientation, with the moon casting a shadow on a portion of the Earth's surface. Sometimes the moon only blocks part of the visible face of the Sun, which results in a partial solar eclipse. On more rare occasions, the moon entirely blocks the face of the Sun and results in a total solar eclipse. Places in the path of totality, including most of western and north-central New York, will experience several minutes of darkened sky, similar to the twilight seen before sunrise or after sunset. If we have clear skies on the day of the eclipse, an incredible view of the sun's corona will be seen during the few minutes of totality. The sun's corona is normally not visible except during a total solar eclipse. The corona is wispy white streamers of plasma, which is charged gas that radiates out from the surface of the sun. The source for all this is the National Weather Service, the forecast office of Buffalo, New York. The totality in Buffalo, New York will be from 3:18 p.m. to 3:22 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. For Rochester, New York, the totality is from 3:20 p.m. to 3:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And for Watertown, New York, it's from 3:22 p.m. to 3:26 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The actual eclipse begins in Buffalo 2:04 or about 2:05 p.m. Rochester 2:07 p.m. The actual thing ends in Buffalo 4:32 p.m. But again, only 4 minutes of a total eclipse expected over there. The National Weather Service for Paducah, Kentucky. tells us information regarding this solar eclipse. A total solar eclipse will occur across a large portion of our forecast area for Paducah, Kentucky on April 8th, 2024. The time of the eclipse is around 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Cincinnati, Ohio, unfortunately, is not in the path of totality. They're only at 99% totality, which the sun is 10,000 times brighter than if you were in 100% totality. It makes an enormous difference. It's almost not worth it at all. If you are in Cincinnati, you might as well travel to areas where you will be in the total totality, such as Dayton, Ohio, Delaware, Ohio, those two places. There's Bellefontaine, Ohio, Ada, Ohio, and Salina, Ohio. The following comes from NASA. Eye safety during a total solar eclipse, except during the brief total phase of a total solar eclipse, when the moon completely blocks the sun's bright face. It is not safe to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar viewing. Viewing any part of the bright sun through a camera lens, binoculars, or telescope without a special purpose solar filter secured over the front of the optics will instantly cause severe eye injury. When watching the partial phases of the solar eclipse directly with your eyes, which happens before and after totality, you must look through safe solar viewing glasses called Eclipse glasses, or a safe handheld solar viewer at all times. Eclipse glasses are not regular sunglasses. Regular sunglasses, no matter how dark, are not safe for viewing the sun. Safe solar viewers are thousands of times darker and ought to comply with the ISO 12312/2 international standard. NASA does not approve any particular brand of solar viewers. Always inspect your Eclipse glasses or handheld viewer before use. If torn, scratched, or otherwise damaged, discard the device. Always supervise children using solar viewers. Do not look at the sun through a camera lens, telescope, binoculars, or any other optical device while wearing Eclipse glasses or using a handheld solar viewer. The concentrated solar rays will burn through the filter and cause serious eye injury. If you don't have Eclipse glasses or a handheld solar viewer, you can use an indirect viewing method, which does not involve looking directly at the sun. One way is to use a pinhole projector, which has a small opening. For example, a hole punched in an index card, and protects an image of the sun. It projects an image of the sun onto a nearby surface. With the sun at your back, you can then safely view the projected image. Do not look at the sun through the pinhole. You can make your own Eclipse projector using a cardboard box, a white sheet of paper, tape, scissors, and aluminum foil. With the sun behind you, sunlight will stream through a pinhole punched into aluminum foil, taped over a hole in one side of the box. During the partial phase of a solar eclipse, this will project a crescent sun onto a white sheet of paper taped to the inside of the box. Look into the box through another hole cut into the box to see the projected image. Do not use Eclipse glasses or handheld viewers with cameras, binoculars, or telescopes. Those require different types of solar filters. When viewing the partial phase of the eclipse through cameras, binoculars, or telescopes equipped with proper solar filters, you do not need to wear Eclipse glasses. The solar filters do the same job as the Eclipse glasses to protect your eyes. Seek expert advice from an astronomer before using a solar filter with a camera, telescope, binoculars, or any other optical device. Note that solar filters must be attached to the front of any telescope, binoculars, camera lens, or other optics. View the sun through Eclipse glasses or a handheld solar viewer during the partial eclipse phases before and after totality. You can view the eclipse directly without proper eye protection only when the moon completely obscures the sun's bright face during the brief and spectacular period known as totality. You'll know it's safe when you can no longer see any part of the sun through Eclipse glasses or a solar viewer. As soon as you see even a little bit of the bright sun reappear after totality, immediately put your Eclipse glasses back on or use a handheld solar viewer to look at the sun. During a solar eclipse, the weather could change rapidly. Wind directions can suddenly change and temperatures can drop as the moon covers the sun. According to weather.com, most places the temperature drops of around 5 to 15 degrees, depending on a person's location. The eclipse could also spark thunderstorms. In areas where it is not cloudy, temperature drops are known to induce thunderstorms near the edge of totality. One of the most notable things that can happen during a solar eclipse is the appearance of what scientists call Bailey's beads. Bailey's beads create a diamond ring effect that occurs when sliver of sunlight peek through the edges of the moon during a solar eclipse. According to NASA, this effect occurs when gaps in the moon's rugged terrain allow sunlight to pass through in some places just before the final phase of the eclipse. Many sky watchers will see colors shift and give familiar objects unusual hues. Colors known to be rich to the human eye, such as red and orange, may appear to be muted when compared with blues and greens. According to Space.com, the natural shift in color perception is caused by fluctuating light levels resulting from the darkening of the sun. The rapid dimming of the sun heightens the effect, called the Perkins shift, and can make the eclipse feel like a surreal event. Total solar eclipses are known by experts to bring about temporary shifts in emotions. NASA reported that many people tend to have deep emotional responses when the sun goes into totality. Shadow bands are in the category of strangest effects associated with solar eclipse. Shadow bands are unusual shadows that can be seen on the ground and on buildings during an eclipse. The bands are described as gray ripples that become visible in the path of the eclipse. Some of the planets that would normally be hidden in daylight could make an appearance during the totality of the solar eclipse. Space.com reported that Venus, located around 15 degrees to the west of the sun, and Jupiter 30 degrees east, may be visible to those looking afield in the sky during the eclipse. The most ideal weather for the eclipse will likely occur in two general areas, from Vermont through Maine, as well as Missouri through southern Indiana. Only a few isolated clouds are expected for these areas, which should not prevent optimal eclipse viewing. Places like Evansville, Indiana, Carbondale, Illinois, Burlington, Vermont, and Caribou, Maine. Some of the locations with less than ideal weather include portions of the eastern Great Lakes and much of Texas. Cleveland, Ohio, and Erie, Pennsylvania have a chance of rain mainly in the morning, but scattered cloud cover may be slow to exit the area even after the rain ends. The extent of the cloud cover all hinges on how quickly a warm front advances eastward. Farther east in Buffalo and Rochester, New York, cloud cover is expected to be between mostly cloudy and overcast, which will limit the viewing of the eclipse pretty significantly. Then there are the southern cities, which not only have clouds to worry about, but also severe storms and possible flooding. There's a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather on Monday, potentially affecting those in the path of totality across much of Texas, as well as parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. A level 2 of 4 risk for excessive rainfall from just east of Dallas, Texas, to western Mississippi. That area includes cities in the path of totality, where thousands of people are expected to be watching the solar eclipse, including Little Rock, Arkansas. Level 1 of 4 threat also extends from central Texas to northern Arkansas, including Dallas. Most of Little Rock, Arkansas has a high likelihood of viewing the eclipse, according to the National Weather Service. Dallas has conditions that are less favorable, considering they will be experiencing mostly cloudy skies. You've been listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. This podcast can be found on almost every platform where podcasts are available.